So, what makes a good TV show, movie, or even a video game? Is it a good plot? Yes. Is it good characters? Yes. Is it a good soundtrack? Absolutely. To truly make something great, I think it is necessary to have all three. And yes, directing, cinematography, editing, and all those other film techniques are also necessary, but I know hardly anything about any of those things, so I'm not going to talk about it. We can all think of examples of great shows, movies, or games that have all three of these, and some that suffer when they rely on only one. So I just recently discovered The Umbrella Academy on Netflix. I truly believe this show has a good plot, good characters, and a good soundtrack. A lot of the credit for this goes to composer Jeff Russo, music supervisor Jen Malone, and even the series creator Steve Blackman. Blackman did an AMA on Reddit after the second season came out, and he was asked about how the music was chosen for the show, and he had this to say: "I love music. It's another character of the show, but there is a process. Unlike most shows, the music is selected before we shoot. I encourage my writers to put the music into the scripts. That way the actors can listen to the music ahead of time, and we can all share the collective vibe of the song. Music really touches the soul, and we love the response by the fans." He also shouts out Jen Malone for the work she did on the show. It's usually a really good sign when the music supervisor and the showrunner have a good relationship. Before we go any further, if you haven't seen the first season of Umbrella Academy, I'm about to spoil so many plot points. We're not talking second season today, though. With that out of the way, here we go.
Let's go already!
Music is the basis of the whole first season plot. Number 7, Vanya, turns to music in order to cope with the stress of being a normal sibling in a special family. Her nickname is even the White Violin. Vanya playing violin and getting into her orchestra is a huge plot point for the whole show. Now, I could talk for an hour about how well they integrated the pop music into this show, but this is YouTube and I don't want to deal with a lot of copyright problems, so we won't be discussing any of the pop music in the show. Not even how they integrated Lindsey Sterling into the opening so well. Or this amazing scene. Or this one. Or the pieces performed by Emmy Raver Lampman and Mary J. Blige. So we will instead discuss the music written for the show by Jeff Russo. I think it is amazing how he's able to convey moods and emotions with so little material. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that in a negative light. I call it efficiency. With just a few notes and a little change in the mood, he can convey so much. I'd like to focus on 4 main themes. The first is track 5 on the original soundtrack, entitled Homecoming. We first hear it when Vanya returns home after hearing of her father's death. It has a quality of creepiness and mystery, which fits the tone of the show wonderfully. I say it's close enough in some other scenes, even though it's not exactly the same. It was too much work to transcribe each iteration of this theme, or the similarities, whenever it came up, especially when the actors had the audacity to speak over the music. The second theme is this theme. It was the first piece that really stuck in my ear when I heard it. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that the first time I watched the show, I didn't get the connection to this theme. It's the Allison and Luther theme. While it doesn't sound like a traditional love theme, it represents the feelings that they have for each other. It's a very open sound. There's only 2 lines happening at the same time. It's written in a minor key, which gives it a very sad and unfulfilling quality. The other thing that I find very interesting about this theme is that it sounds unfinished. There's no way for me to know for sure, but when it ends on this note, your ear is telling you that it's going to go back up to the tonic note, G. It's referred to as a leading tone, and has a strong need to resolve to the first note of the scale. If you listen to the scale it's based on, it sounds incomplete with the resolution to the last note. But there is one notable exception. In the 6th episode, The Day That Wasn't, Allison and Luther finally get to dance together. At the end, we hear their theme, but it sounds a lot different. Not only is it scored on the strings, but the harmony is fleshed out into full chords. It gives a much happier feel to it, even though it's the same theme. It also ends. It resolves back to that first note of the scale. The F sharp gets to move to the G again. It gives the feeling that the tension that was between them is finally resolved. Unfortunately for them, 5 goes back in time and changes everything. Speaking of number 5, he also has a theme. I find this theme interesting for several reasons. Firstly, it happens at least once in every episode 1 through 4, and then never comes back. But whenever we do get to hear this theme, I think it perfectly encapsulates 5's character. It is again written in a minor key, but with a very notable difference. The 4th note is raised, or higher. That means that instead of the scale sounding like this, it sounds like this. It gives a very uncomfortable quality to the sound of the scale, which is exactly what 5 is. He's very abrasive and uncomfortable to be around. The final theme I'd like to discuss is Vanya's. While Vanya has her own theme, and the orchestra music they're playing is based on that as well, that's not the theme I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I call Vanya's madness motif. When I say motif, I'm referring to a small musical idea that is the basis for larger themes. These 4 notes are prevalent in Vanya realizing her powers, distrusting her family, and causing the apocalypse. It is first used in this scene when she's trying to discover her powers at the lake. It sounds almost happy here. We haven't realized that she will be the cause of the apocalypse yet. We're rooting for her to find her powers. As it continues on in later episodes, it gets more and more frantic and terrifying. You can hear it when she remembers being locked up, when Allison remembers rumoring her.
I don't want to argue with you.
Then go!
I'm only trying to help.
I don't want your help!
Vanya, I love you.
Stop saying that!
And when she remembers being ostracized. I find it interesting because Jeff Russo can get by with making 4 notes sound interesting and represent something that is pivotal to the plot. There are so many other things to get into that I just don't have the time to discuss. The Hazel and Cha-Cha theme, Klaus's theme, and how they use music to tell his story, which I think is great. But the point that I wanted to get across is how efficiency in music can work for you to tell the story, and how you don't need a lot of music, or even anything overly complex, to convey a mood and a story to your audience. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I want to make more. Also, fun disclaimer, if you're a bigger music nerd than me, and have your own ideas about how I was wrong, or what you think, I'm happy to have that discussion. I just really liked this show, and the music in it, and enjoyed doing a deep dive into it. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter or leave a comment here if you want to discuss more music stuff. If you enjoyed this video, please help me out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Have a great day. See you next time.